Hi everyone and welcome to another LinkedIn Live Leadership interview series. My name is Barry Winkless. I'm CSO of CPL and head of the Future of Work Institute. I'm delighted today to be joined by Mark Smyth, Group Director of Wireline Transceivers at Cadence Design Systems.
Hey Barry.
Hi Mark, good to see you. Mark, I'd like to kind of kick off the interview by asking a little bit about Cadence, because obviously, not everybody would know about what you guys do. You're doing some really leading edge work there. I'd like to get a better sense of Cadence and what you guys are about.
So Cadence itself is a company's probably over 40 years old, very well known in the microchip design industry because we build the tools that microchip designers use. So it started out building the analog design tools, but it's now offering all of the tools across the IC design spectrum. So even now, the company is actually moving more towards multi-physics simulation. There's massive markets there, and it's capitalizing on the expertise that's been built up over 40 years. I actually work for one of 5 divisions of Cadence called the IPG Group, and we're the unusual group within Cadence who actually design microchips using our own tools. So in particular, our expertise is in high-speed communications integrated circuit technology, and we basically bring differentiated solutions to companies who are moving high-speed data between processors, out to off-chip memories, out to high-speed optical connectors. So that's pretty much what the IPG group does. So our offerings are in the areas of SerDes up to 112 gigabit per second, high-speed memories, as I said, Mac controllers, and processor technologies themselves. And our main customers are probably in the best-known processor companies in Silicon Valley, and the companies who are developing integrated circuits to work and enable data centers and cloud computing.
Wow. Mark, I'd like to kind of ask you about your career. So, how does somebody like Mark end up in Cadence doing this kind of fairly, let's be honest, leading edge research? How did you get to here? And, love to hear a little bit about, some of your career highlights, to this point.
So I graduated from college in the mid-90s, and it's interesting how the industry has evolved in the space of 25 years. Technology moves very quickly. So when I came out in the 90s, we were in the middle of the tech. It was a tech-com bubble, effectively, if you remember.
But really, the first one, yeah.
Yeah, the first one. But it was driven by the internet revolution. Everyone's PC was connected to the internet, right? So that was the big driver, and that probably came to an end spectacularly in the year 2000. The next decade, the noughties, while there was a housing boom worldwide, or in the technology industry struggled for the next decade, and particularly here in Ireland during that period of time, it was a lot of smaller companies, people keeping going as such. But really, in the last 12 years, the industry has entered another cycle in Ireland, a much more mature cycle, where the biggest Silicon Valley companies are now here in Ireland, right? All the biggest names in the Valley, most of them have a presence here, and it's capitalizing on the 30 or 40 years that this industry has matured in Ireland. There's a great pool of talent, of mixed signal, integrated circuit talent in Ireland, particularly around the Cork, Limerick area. So, and also, as we know, Ireland is a very favourable environment for companies to do business in, both internationally and from the perspective of working across Europe. So all of those factors have come together in the last 12 years, and now we have a booming technology sector in Ireland. So that's really the bigger picture on the environment that my career has matured in. Me in particular, I would describe myself as an analog design engineer, and I had probably worked for about 20 years in the high-speed communications part of technology. And I started out probably I'd say around the year 2000. We were working on 1 gigabit per second links, which were pretty leading edge at the time.
Yeah.
Now we're working at 112 gigabit links, going to 224 gig. So in the space of 20 years, we've gone by a factor of 100 to 200 in speed. And a lot of us predict that the high-speed electrical links will reach terabit per second in the next 10 to 15 years. So over the space of a 30-year career, 35-year career, we'll be seeing a factor of 1,000 improvement in high-speed links. So this has been the technology driver for my career, and I've always worked in the high-speed analog part of the front end in particular. But there's a lot of skill sets needed to deliver these high-speed solutions.
Mark, given your broad level experience in R&D, I mean, what are the 3 or 4 things you've learned about managing R&D teams? Because I imagine it's quite a unique bunch of people. You're doing leading edge work. So what have you learned in your career, and what are you kind of bringing into Cadence, I suppose, in your next phase?
So I would say that for high performance teams, the first thing I'll say is that it's always about the people, right? More, of course, you need the correct technology skill sets, but successful teams are all about the attitude of the individuals and the attitude of the team and how the team is organized, right? So first of all, if you're putting together a leading edge team, you're looking for people with the right skill sets. And particularly, you always emphasize to people, like, write up a CV every year. Make sure that your skill sets are growing in the right direction, right? But basically, presuming that you have people with the appropriate skill sets, you put them together in teams, and now the success of the product is defined by the success of the team. So how well these people work together as a team, how well the team organizes itself. You need an element of management, but you need light touch management as well. So good team practices are, working back from the end point. So typically these projects that we do will last a year, right, in the design phase. So every week, everybody knows what they have to do this week. And basically it's about individually and collectively keeping on target. So good design disciplines, good attitude from the team, and great ambition from the engineers to basically build great products, make sure their products work first time, while also developing your own skill sets to be better each time. So I think they're all the core facets of good teams and good people on those teams.
I have to say, Mark, I love that idea of kind of writing up a CV every year. I think if I was to do that, I might kind of get a little bit scared. So I must do that now after this interview.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point, Barry. It's sobering for all. Sometimes a few years you haven't done it and you write it and you go, wow, well.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it genuinely is so true. I suppose, Mark, it leads me on to my next question. So look, obviously leading edge R&D, happening in Cork. You've an international R&D centre there. I want to probably talk a little bit deeper now around the work in particular that your team are doing. Because I know you're very much at the the front end. What kind of work are people doing in there? What kind of if you're talking to people outside of maybe somebody potentially thinking about joining a Cadence, what kind of stuff are you guys doing there in this mad laboratory?
Yes, it's a good question. So I think the bigger picture in Cork around Cadence is it's a very ambitious project that's going on here in Cork, right? So Cadence are actually setting up an international R&D centre here in Cork, right? So outside of North America, it's going to be their biggest R&D centre, okay? And basically, there are 5 major product groups or technology groups within Cadence, and all of these teams and products are being represented here in Ireland, right? So that's the big plan. So already in the space of just over 2 years, I think there's maybe upwards of 150 people here already, and there's a linear growth path there for the next number of years. So very, very, very great for technically interested people with software, hardware skills. This is a great place to come to learn, to be part of great teams. In particular, going back to the group I work for, which is IPG, our brief here is to basically put together a big enough wireline PHY team to own a leading edge PHY product here in Cork, here in Ireland. Wow. So we're talking, 50 to 100 people to get started here. And what makes it such I would say unique proposition, but it's pretty rare in Europe now that complete PHY teams at the 112 gig plus level are based in Europe, right? Most of those teams are based in the west coast of the US. So it's very ambitious of Cadence. They want to basically it's to address all the markets and the customers that are there. They need to get capable people, but it's also the recognition that in Ireland over the last, as we spoke earlier about the growth of skills here locally, it's recognition that the skill sets and the expertise in high-speed communications is here in Ireland now.
Yeah, fantastic. And I suppose it leads me on to the obvious question, Mark, which is you're a leader trying to grow out this world-class team. Let's call it what it is. I mean, what are the kind of skills that you're looking for particularly? And also, I suppose, the attitudes, because, I'm assuming like all R&D work, and particularly this type of work, it's very integrative, it very much depends on deep collaboration. So, technically, what are the kind of people you're looking for, and what are the type of attitudes, of people you'd like to kind of see, joining this, big Cadence mission?
I suppose, well, generally, to answer your question, the types of skills we're looking for, we basically hire hardware people. So we're looking for integrated circuit type people would across a whole range of skill sets. So we're looking for high frequency RF people, high speed analog designers, high speed digital network type people. Massive emerging area now is verifications, both digital verification, system verification, and mixed signal verification. The technology nodes we're working on, we're going down to the small node, FinFET node. So we need expert analog layout engineers, digital layout engineers, and also then we need architects to both architect our PHYs into bigger systems and architect the sub-blocks within our PHYs as well. So there's a whole range of skills needed. It's a lot of people and a lot of disciplines, right? To be more specific in terms of type of people we look for, right? I think we've touched on it already here, maybe a little bit, but first of all, as we said, you need people with that right CV, that right career progression, right? So if you're 10 years out or 20 years out, you need to be hitting certain technical markers, right? But really, we're looking for very technically minded and interested people, right? So usually people we hire are ambitious. They're ambitious to work on the leading edge products in the field, right? So a good example I would always give is that every year in February in San Francisco, we have what's known as the ISSCC conference, which is the flagship conference for IC design, microchip design, where all the big companies announce their products as well, right? So if you look at the publications there, the leaders in the fields of high-speed wireline, high-speed wireless, high-speed processors, right? The companies and the leading people publish there. So the type of people we hire are the people who are ambitious to be published there, working at that level, at that level of expertise, and also they're ambitious that they're working on products that are appearing, in data centers, that are appearing in anywhere high-speed data is moved, with the very recognizable OEM companies who build the equipment, right? That our technology is in there. So they would be the key ambitions of the people we hire.
Proper R&D, Mark, as we used to call it back in the day, right? I suppose, so we've talked, I suppose, like from my perspective, we've talked a lot about, the kind of people that we want, and you weren't working in your team. And I suppose to turn the tables on you a bit, Mark, let's say you're standing up in front of a group of design engineers. What would you say to them about why Cadence? Why specifically, Cadence, and even more specifically, why your team? I know we touched on some areas, but what would you say to that group of eager, design engineers that you really want to join your organization?
Yeah, so there are a number of factors you should look at when you join any organization, right? One thing I would say is that when you're a junior person or more senior, you're looking for different things, right? When you're a junior person, you're looking for a start. You just, you want to get some technology. But as you move through your career, you start seeing the richer ecosystem and the issues involved about how to maneuver, right? So, but let's presume a general answer to your question, Barry. So I would say that, from the perspective of Cadence and the IPG group that we work with, right, we're world leaders in high-speed communications integrated circuits, right, and we would be recognized as such. So we have upwards of 1,000 people working in our organization. So if you join us, you're working with the best in this area, and basically your skill sets are going to develop, and not only are you going to get really good at the stuff you work on, but from being absorbed in the ecosystem, you are going to learn all the things you need to know about the complete product, right? So immersing yourself in the best product teams for high-speed communications, that's the primary reason you would join Cadence, right? So I suppose another factor would be that we have best-in-class customers, right? So it's a who's who of the companies we deal with, right? So you're not just supplying stuff to them, you're working with them to get your technology working in their products. So really, you learn so much from your customers. You learn from the best, and really that's an environment you want to be in, right? But also more generally, apart from the skill sides and the business side, you want to work for great companies who treat their employees well. So I think that's something I found very attractive about joining Cadence, right? So Cadence, it sounds cliche, we invest in people, but Cadence do invest in people, right? And so, technically, you recognize when people need technical development, you recognize when people need all sorts of soft skill development, leadership development. So this company sees the big picture of investing in people, right? So, and also the behaviors of how people operate in the company is very important. The value sets are very high here in terms of behavior, and people find that attractive when they're working in intense environments that things are well managed and they're happy in the environment. So I think they're three big factors. To answer your question about why people might want to work for my team in particular, so apart from as we spoke a few times here about the skills learning and all the rest of it, I think people in general, based on past experience, enjoy working in teams that I set up or lead. I suppose my own philosophy is I like light touch management. I like to manage the design rather than the designer. Treat people as adults. Let people organize their own time just once the work gets done. And I like to basically look at review progress on a weekly basis and let people organize themselves around that. But I believe in investing time in methodologies, how we do our work, how we cut out wasted time, how we improve our design practices. So basically, engineers appreciate that, and it enables good team behavior. And I suppose the other thing I always look for is good team players. And again, it sounds like a cliche, but people, you're looking for people who see the goal of the team first, and their own goals will follow on. And basically, I would rate that as a very important factor as well, and an attraction in the type of teams that we build.
Mark, thanks very much. And for those of you interested in linking up with Cadence about these roles, please click on the link provided. Mark, definitely you've painted a picture of a really fascinating R&D centre in Ireland doing some really leading edge R&D work. So I'm sure you're going to be inundated with interest. And with that, Mark, I'd like to say thanks very much for very considered, I would say, and a very 360 set of answers. I very much appreciate that. And hopefully you'll find those kind of people that you're looking for to really build that world-class team in Cork, in Ireland, and working on leading edge work. So thanks very much, Mark.
Thank you, Barry. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.